alaikum, everyone. Class of 2020. Congratulations on making it this far in a year where much has come to a standstill. To be the only source of momentum in a time like this is both unique and commendable. I was in your place a few years ago. In fact, as she just told you guys, Sister Shama, I gave a speech then too, but to my graduating class. I remember where my parents were sitting in the audience, sort of towards the left, how my principal and teachers were sitting to my side, kind of like how the board is today. My classmates sitting ahead of me like you guys. Everyone was beaming. There was a great sense of excitement on what is to come, but being a nostalgic person myself, I always imagine myself in situations like this to see the event almost from a bird's eye view, trying to capture every little moment from a third-person perspective. You might be doing the same today. See, the thing about being in a small private school is that you receive a lot of special attention and care, but that may also come with more scrutiny, which of course we as teenagers are not always fond of. But through the careful guidance of our teachers, our board members, my principal at the time, Sister Yasmin, I formed many long-lasting mentorships at Iman Academy, only to lose some of those individuals to ailments a few years later. But I can see the devotion that they continue to have many years later. I developed a deep love of literature and writing with my English teacher at the time, Ms. Gabby, and her innovative take on being able to think deeply. This is something that I've continued to keep with me because oftentimes the more education that you get, you lose that humanistic aspect of your being. So continue to inculcate that within you as you move on in your education and life. One of my best memories is of the trip we took to various universities, which helped me broaden my horizons and realize the many possibilities that we have ahead of us. How our high school counselor at the time, Ms. Najat, would sit with each and every one of us, making sure that we had everything we could possibly need when applying for college. Organizing and building a gaba out of pipes and cloth on Hajj Day while toppling over each other, cracking just the right joke to make our teachers smile, playing mischievous pranks on our classmates. I'm sure you guys have done that. We were deeply cared for, and that is something I took for granted. So perhaps the hardest thing in this transition you are just about to experience is the sudden sea of thousands of students amongst whom you will be just another unfamiliar face. Adjusting to that will take time, but today is a day of celebration. Celebration of your achievement and the many things which are yet to come. I know it seems now that high school may be the pinnacle of your being, but trust me, that is not true. There is so much more in store for you. But my purpose here is not to repeat cliche examples of such things, so I won't digress further. Rather, I want to share with you the story of a little boy that may leave some impact on you guys. See, if I didn't tell you the story of this little boy, my story would be incomplete and frankly irrelevant. So in order to convey some sense of inspiration, I want to take you on his journey. He was born in a small village in Sialkot, in the northeastern part of Pakistan. His father and grandfather were farmers, cultivating and sowing their land, living a simple but organic life. Organic in the truest sense of the word, not just the grains they were grinding using millstones. His father was an only child with 4 children and a 5th one on the way. This little boy would spend his days skipping about, tracing the bottoms of lily pads within ponds, taking the buffalo out for a bath in the river, running for cover during hailstorms, insisting on listening to the story of Yusuf alayhi salam from his grandmother every night. picking berries from large trees. He absolutely loved trees. The young and naive days were soon to be over, though. When he was around 8 or 9, his father, the only child, passed away, leaving behind 5 children, a widow, and parents. Life went on, as it always does, as it is now. He took up praying 5 times a day as a challenge made to him by an elderly man at the local masjid. In grade 10, a caring teacher, or rather mentor, kind of like the ones you have here, saw the potential this young boy had and insisted he change his subjects mid-year to science. But the young boy had picked subjects by ease, not potential. This was the first time anyone had tried to guide him. Moreover, this would mean he would fall behind his classmates, and that would be the height of embarrassment, as we are all aware. Peer pressure was real back then too, guys. Repeating the year was not an option. So that summer, he borrowed used books and studied an entire year's worth of material under the light of his lantern, carefully analyzing the examples presented and passed with flying colors. This gave him much encouragement and was the beginning of a new endeavor for him, which would take him across oceans. With this newfound sense of passion and dedication to stand on his 2 feet, he worked hard to then be accepted into the second best medical school in the nation, all on the basis of merit. After graduating from medical school, he worked in a government hospital by day and studied in a small room and board at that very hospital by night, hoping to take his aspirations further. He applied for a coveted student visa to take his studies further to America, the land of opportunity. But for no rhyme or reason was rejected by an agent who was having a bad day. The deadline to apply for programs was fast approaching. Interviews were lined up based on his stellar track record, only to be put on hold because he simply could not make it to them. I wasn't there to see this, but I hear this was the most dejected he has ever felt. See, stressors were never visible on his face, a face that always remained calm and composed throughout the toughest scenarios. This time was different, though. But with the help of some loved ones and destiny on his side, his second attempt was approved, only for a new dilemma when he arrived in New York. The program deadlines had passed. Imagine graduating today not knowing that you would be able to go to college. All the interview seats were filled, but he was not one to give up. So every morning he would take out his journal of contact information and call every program relentlessly until one day he was miraculously called for an interview and accepted for the only spot available to thousands of applicants. Resilience in the face of adversity. I want you guys to remember that. This set the tone for the rest of his life. He remained grounded despite his success and was of service to many near and far, locally and globally, as well as to the school. This young man whom I tell you about today was my father. It's been 103 days since I lost him. He was not sick. Allah took him from us swiftly and without warning, as he was an amana to us. My father passed on the torch to me in a relay race where we know of the start, but not the end of our tenure. I chose to tell you something deeply personal and raw because perhaps that is how valuable lessons are remembered best. Our favorite mode of conversing to one another was in riddles and poetry. He knew my love for writing, and he would often tell me, "Why don't I write about him?" I would tell him, "He's led such an amazing life. Maybe one day I can write a book about him." Often when I felt anxious or worried about anything, I would talk to him. And in your coming future, there will be times where you will doubt your capabilities. It's happened to the best of us. and you will find yourself at a crossroad where tough decisions will need to be made. So when I sat down to collect my thoughts before you all today, there were a few lines from a poem that echoed in my mind, one that you would often tell me when I was nervous, when I was worried. So if there's anything you want to take away with you today, it is this. Written by Allama Iqbal, a celebrated poet and philosopher with many scholarly contributions in Urdu and Persian, it was my Baba's favorite reminder to me, himself, and now to you all in your future endeavors. तुंदिए बादे मुखालिफ से ना घबरा ए औकाब, ये तो चलते हैं तुझे ऊंचा उड़ाने के लिए। नहीं तेरा नशेमन कसरे सुल्तानी के गुंबद पर, तू शाही है बसेरा कर पहाड़ों की चट्टानों में। He gives the example of an eagle or shaheen to the youth of his time, much like you all, and how it stands out from the rest of the birds, with no permanent residence in the form of a nest. In its flight and our life, he reminds us to not be afraid of the resistance the wind gives you during your flight, for its sole purpose is to elevate you to even greater heights. The obstacles which may come your way are only rendering you to become better. Your aim should not be to make your nest in one place and become complacent. Do not give up, for you, O eagle, are meant to dwell on the peaks of mountains. And I'll end with one line he often mentioned to me. अगर खो गया एक नशेमन तो क्या गम, मकामाते आहो फुगा और भी हैं। तू शाही है परवाज़ है काम तेरा, तेरे सामने आसमां और भी हैं। If a nest or home was lost, why do you grieve? There may be other places for sighing and lamenting. O eagle, you are meant to take flight and soar, for many open skies lie ahead of you. Congratulations again, class of 2020. May you soar with grace and confidence from peak to peak. Jazakallah khair.